Let's get one more important voice in on the political setup and the impending improvement in the macros once the new government comes in. Shobhana Bhartia, editorial director at Hindustan Times, joins into our discussion. Shobhana, hi, good morning, and thank you for being with us on the show. All 5 exit polls indicate that it will be a BJP-led NDA win. But just to ponder on the numbers a little bit, our own poll suggested that it could be a 270 to 282 win for the NDA. Even if you give a margin error of around 3% or so, if it doesn't fail to get the majority, or say it comes in at 250, 255, how difficult do you think will it be for the BJP to form a stable government, in the sense that would it still need to get allies, and if yes, how tough would that be?
Looking at the exit poll numbers, it seems quite apparent that the BJP is heading for a majority. But as you said, that if they are slightly inaccurate and they fall short by numbers ranging from anywhere between 20 or even 30, I personally don't feel it's going to be difficult at all for them to cross the magic mark of 272, because there will be more than enough people willing to give BJP support by either joining the formation or alternatively just supporting them from outside. So extending issue-based support. You see, I don't see any instability either, because when you have a behemoth like the BJP with 250 and the UPA plus getting reduced to, if one were to believe the exit polls, closer to 100, there's a huge gap out there. That in itself will ensure the stability of the government. And there are so many regional parties which have been posturing during elections. But post-elections, there are a lot of parties that would be dependent on the center in terms of what they can get from the center, in terms of the center helping them with the fiscal package and so on. So there will be enough parties willing to extend support, if not full support, at least issue-based support. So I don't see the BJP falling short of the numbers when it comes to forming the government. And not only forming a government, but I think we can look forward to a stable government if the exit polls are to be believed.
So, Shobhana, okay, first morning, and thank you very much for joining us. Can we take it that if it is Mr. Modi's confirmed idea that we have to say market price, diesel, or market price any fuel products or any fertilizer, there can't be any arm twisting by any parties? Policies will not get affected, you think?
It seems highly unlikely. Of course, much depends on the numbers, and if you're over-dependent on allies, and there are some issues which are very sensitive back home for those allies, they always do sort of hamper the sort of initiatives that very often central leaders do take. But in this case, actually looking at the composition of the NDA as is today, and looking at the potential allies, I don't personally foresee too much of an issue in terms of Mr. Modi being able to deliver on some of these economic policies that he has been articulating through his campaign and through interviews. Because I also think that in early days there won't be too many issues. If at all, going forward after a year or two, very often the local issues, when you get closer to the local elections, when you get closer to assembly elections, regional parties need their own pound of flesh. But unless there's an issue such as FDI in retail, which the BJP too is opposed to, but many regional allies have an issue because it impacts their vote bank, because they lose out on the trader class. So short of an issue like that, which actually impacts their vote bank, and that also, I think, much closer to any state going for polls, I don't see him really facing any major obstacles in the initial period at all. I think he would be able to pull through with most of the economic measures that he has been talking about.
Okay, so let's come to that. What would you expect will be radically different in this? Should we expect that Modi would tackle public sector units very differently? Should we expect coal to be denationalized or effectively denationalized? What do you think we should expect as the first bunch of steps in the next 6 months from Narendra Modi government?
I think the first important task before the Modi government is going to be the budget. And that, in a sense, will actually chart out the path that they're planning to take. And a lot will be revealed to us during that exercise. But they have been talking about kind of re-looking at the tax structure in terms of making the taxes lower, making the bounty bigger. They have been talking about setting up resource-specific regulators and bringing in greater accountability and transparency in allocation of resources. So I don't think they will go in for any radical changes in terms of the way PSUs are run, but I think they will try and bring in some of the major changes that are required to streamline the functioning of the industry. I think they will have a keen look at the Environment Ministry and its functioning and try and toe a line between safeguarding environmental concerns, at the same time not holding up projects as they have been for the last many years. I think they will look at looking at the tax structure, which I think we can expect to see in the budget. I think they will try and move towards bringing in sector-specific regulators and trying to make everything a lot more transparent, and therefore take away the discretionary quota that has been with the government and has actually faced many allegations in the past. So I think the basic structuring is what he would look at, and I think the budget will actually reveal the direction that they plan to take. Just how aggressive are they going to be, or are they going to sit it out, wait for some time before they actually tackle many of these issues?
Okay. I just want to come back to that point you were making about the post-poll allies, Shobhana. Who are these regional parties who are currently indulging in just political posturing and who may change their mind later, you think? Because, if you look at what's on record, I mean, Mamata Banerjee has come out and said that if it was her party's government in Delhi, then she would put Modi in prison. Who do you think would turn the corner post the 16th?
Mamata Banerjee has been posturing a lot, and perhaps because of the high percentage of minority votes as well, it might not be very feasible. She also has concerns back home if she were to support Modi after having gone so far. But I think the possibility of AIDMK seems very real. In the past also, the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu has enjoyed quite a decent relationship with Mr. Modi. I think the possibility of one of the UP parties, more specifically perhaps the BSP, extending support, if not joining the government outside support, could be something that perhaps the NDA might look at. And also the Biju Janata Dal is another party, though they had fallen out with the BJP, but they do have a history of having worked with them in the past, and they seem to be an obvious ally to try and stitch up an alliance with if they were short. So I think there are regional formations here and there that potentially could be extending outside support. You also have Jagan Mohan Reddy, but there the issue again is that since you already have an alliance with Chandrababu Naidu, would you also get Jagan Mohan Reddy to support you? But Jagan Mohan Reddy in the past has spoken about the fact that he is quite open and he's open to any alliance. So he's kept all the cards to himself, and I think he is a very real possibility. But the only issue, of course, would be the local politics there, with Chandrababu already being part of the NDA.
And what is your own view on the key cabinet positions once the new government is formed? I mean, the common criticism is that when Narendra Modi took power, assumed power in Gujarat, most of the cabinet positions were taken by Modi himself. How do you see it play out this time around, whether it's finance minister or any other position?
I think it's very different being the Prime Minister from being the Chief Minister. In the States, it's not uncommon for Chief Ministers to keep all the important portfolios to themselves. But in the center, I don't think something like that would actually be even practical. So I certainly don't see him keeping important portfolios for himself. As to who he's actually going to be giving these portfolios to, I think that's best known to him. He'll also have to see the number of allies he has, and the allies obviously would bargain for some important ministries. But I certainly don't see a situation where there's over-centralization and the portfolios are kept by Modi himself. But having said that, it's quite likely that since BJP will be the largest chunk in the NDA formation, in fact, the top-up by the NDA allies is very minimal compared to the bulk that the BJP is getting. Again, if we were to believe the exit polls, it seems like BJP will be comfortably over 200 seats. In that case, I think bulk of the important portfolios will be kept by the party itself. Also, if Mr. Modi has to deliver on the governance that he has promised, I think it would also be important for him to ensure that he has the right person in the right place, and therefore I think he would keep those important critical portfolios, especially those concerned with finance or infrastructure, I think he would try and retain those within the BJP, because it's going to be impossible for him to deliver if those ministers are not fully answerable to him. Of course, they will be in a sense in the cabinet structure, but we've seen in the past also that, you know, regional allies have their own bosses sitting back in their own states.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. We've had some unsavory experiences with the UPA itself, but I guess you would have learned from that. Shobhana Bhartia, pleasure speaking with you. Thank you very much for joining us, giving us a roadmap of what to expect politically and maybe even policy-wise from the next government.